What's up everyone, it's Jace Art here. So recently some of my art videos have been gaining some traction not only here on YouTube but TikTok and a little bit of Instagram as well. And a lot of people have started to ask me what drawing materials do I use, what recording equipment do I use. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to not only address those questions but take it a step further and walk you through my entire creative process for making these shorts. This drawing and recording process has given me some pretty cool results in the last month and a half, including this video of Omni-Man that has nearly 1.5 million views, this drawing of Built for My Mark that has nearly 300,000 views, and most recently, this drawing of Conquest that has over 150,000 views. Maybe you're an artist yourself or you want to start making art videos, this is perfect for you. I'm going to be sharing all the sauce, I'm going to be sharing my tips and tricks, and I also have some final words at the end of the video that I don't want you to miss. So if this is something that you want to learn about, you have to make sure to watch until the very end. So to make this video easy to understand, we're going to be breaking it up into 4 sections. In the first section, we're going to be covering all of my art materials. In the second section, we're going to be covering all of my recording and editing equipment. In the third section, we'll actually be walking through the entire shorts creation process. And lastly, for the fourth section, which we'll briefly go over, is thumbnails. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. All this, we're going to be covering it right now. Let's start working our way through all of this. As we start off this section, I want to be talking... Why do I have this pencil in my hand? Before we start this section, I quickly want to walk you through all of my art mediums. So my mediums include colored pencils, alcohol markers, pastels, oil painting, and then most recently acrylic painting. But for the purposes of this video, and since most of my content is colored pencils and alcohol markers only, I will only be covering those 2 mediums. When it comes to drawing, in my opinion, the most important thing, hands down, is paper. The type of paper that you choose can make or break your art, so you do have to put some thought into it. When I work on what I like to call masterpieces, which is really just bigger size drawings, I usually go for a 9x12, or on the occasion, I'll kick it all the way up to an 11x14. And I'll be rolling some of the drawings that I've drawn on these sizes of paper as we speak. My go-to brand for any kind of paper is Strathmore. Now there are a ton of options out there, but I found that Strathmore works really well for me. It's a good price and the quality of paper is really good. All right, so let's talk paper surface. Paper surface basically refers to the roughness or the smoothness or the in-between of your paper. You could use any paper for any drawing you wanted, but there are best case uses for each one of them. So let's run through them. Let's start off with my most used surface, and that's the vellum surface. Vellum surface is perfect for colored pencils because it has a lot of tooth to it. And what that really means is that there are a lot of grooves in the paper, meaning it's a little more rough. Now this is perfect because it allows you to add more layers of colored pencils on top. And if you want realism, you really can't do just one solid layer of color. You have to slowly build up, and this surface is perfect for doing that. While this paper may be good for colored pencils, it's not the best for other things like alcohol markers. Because the vellum surface is more rough, you do run the risk of damaging the nibs on your alcohol markers, so you have to be careful not to use this paper. I personally have used my alcohol markers with this paper before, but only out of desperation. Avoid at all costs, do not use. My second most used paper surface is smooth. Now I know I just said that vellum surface is really good for realism drawings, and it can be, but smooth paper can also be just as good. It really just depends on your preference. Vellum paper offers the benefit of having more layers to add richness to your drawing, but the fact that smooth paper has a lot less roughness to it means that your colors are going to blend easier and a lot less texture is going to show up in your drawings. So if that's what you want for your realism drawings, that can be better for you. Personally, I like to switch it up. Sometimes I'll do my realism drawings on vellum, other times on smooth. It just kind of depends on the mood that I'm in. Another thing to keep in mind for smooth paper is that because it has a lot less tooth to it, so a lot less ridges in the paper, it's not going to wear down your colored pencils as much as vellum surface. Personally though, I love to use smooth paper for mixed media and especially alcohol markers. Now I know that there's specifically paper for alcohol markers, but smooth paper in my opinion has worked just as much, and trust me, I've layered a ton of alcohol markers on drawings before, some of them which I'll include here, and while the color can be seen through the bag, I've never had the problem of ink running through the paper and ruining it, never. Like I said, I also love to use it for mixed media, so a lot of the times I'll go over the first layer of my drawing with alcohol markers and then go over it with colored pencils. This makes the final drawing look really smooth, and something that I figured out is it wears down your colored pencils a lot less because there's a lot less white of the paper that you have to cover. You know, most of it's already covered by the alcohol marker. The colored pencil is just going to finish the job. It's also going to save your hand, trust me. You won't have to press nearly as hard to get all that colored pencil out. All right, and the last bit of paper that we need to cover are my actual sketchbooks. So you'll recognize this sketchbook. This is the one that I've been using for all of my shorts recently, but this is the one that I started off with. This one is a fine-tooth surface. When I first got the sketchbook, I used it for sketching, which is what it's meant for, and I actually started off a lot of the shorts with this sketchbook. You might recognize this Allen drawing if you've been watching me for a while. While this paper is really good for sketching, I personally found that I like the other one better because it's toned tan paper, meaning the colors pop more, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's keep focusing on this sketchbook. Recently, I've converted this sketchbook into a swatching paper. Basically, every time that I start a new drawing, I'll swatch out the colors that I'm going to use on this. This is the main sketchbook that I use now. So this is Strathmore toned tan paper, medium surface. All of my short sketches are on this paper. The reason being the color of the paper. On this toned paper, your colors are going to look a lot more saturated and vibrant compared to if you were going to just draw on a regular white piece of paper. I'll even show you right now. So this is a sketch that I did of Charmander on the regular white paper, and as you can see, it looks good and you can get a ton of detail and a lot of contrast out of it, but then compare it to a drawing made on the toned tan paper. So really there's no difference at all in the colors used. They're both Prismacolors, but the fact that this is on a neutral background makes the colors pop a lot more. Just so you can see another example, this is a sketch of Gengar that I did with a galaxy kind of twist to it. And as you can see, the colors really pop here. And that's all again thanks to the color of the paper. So yes, a lot of people have commented, does the paper add to the effect of your drawings? And the answer is yes. This kind of paper is gonna make drawings pop a lot more and make it look a lot more smooth compared to white paper. Hence the reason why I switched over to this paper for these kinds of sketches. So if I had to sum it up, toned tan paper gives you two main benefits. The first benefit is that on toned tan paper, your colors are gonna look a lot more vibrant, saturated, and pop out a lot more. The second benefit is that it's going to make the overall appearance of your sketch look a lot more smooth. So yeah, if you're interested in the kind of art style that I like to go for my sketches, I would highly recommend the toned tan paper. But I also still love using white paper for all of my other drawings. They really both have their benefits and cons, so it's just about finding what you want to do for your drawing and what gives you the most benefits for it. Alright, now let's get into the markers and ink section. When it comes to alcohol markers, I use two brands. Copic, but I mainly use Winsor & Newton. So let's start off with this one first. Now this is a set of 48 of brush markers. I personally went for the brush markers because it's a lot easier to blend with these. Blending is possible with any type of nib. It's just that it's easier on some, for example, like the brush markers. So these Copic Chow I've had for years. They're actually like 10 years old, which just goes to show A, I don't use these that much, but then also B, the ink really does last a long time. When I first started off with alcohol markers, I bought these at Michael's, but the thing is that Copics, as we all know, are just so expensive. Hence why a lot of people have started to use other alternatives, such as a Hoo Hoo or other stuff like that, or Winsor & Newton. I personally love Copic, and if I could afford them, I'd use them a lot more, but I can't, so that's why I only have these two sets. This is a skin color set, so it comes with 6 different markers, and then this is just a brights assortment, so it comes with another 6 different colors. This is a really limited set, so I don't find myself using these too often. However, this I still use a lot. Alcohol markers, I would personally say, are used the most in comic sketches, character designs, and stuff like that, or manga drawings or anime drawings. When it comes to these things, alcohol markers are unmatched in my opinion. There's no better alternative. Now lastly, what everyone is always asking about, colored pencils. So for all of my drawings and for years now, the only colored pencils that I use now are Prismacolors. So let's run through what these are. When it comes to wax-based pencils, they're a lot creamier and a lot smoother. Because the wax pencils are really creamy, that means that the core is also really soft. Now this can be a downside. Wax colored pencils, especially Prismacolors, are notorious for breaking. Because they're so soft, too much pressure can easily crack them or break it off. But in my opinion, if blending is what you care about the most, wax-based colored pencils are simply unmatched in my opinion. Another thing you should keep in mind for wax-based colored pencils is bloom. So bloom is like a white and cloudy film that's gonna appear on the top of your drawings. And what this basically is, it's the wax binding from the colored pencils that rise up to the surface of the paper. And what that does is it dulls out your colors. Now don't worry, it's super easy to take off. All you have to do is just get some paper and then dust it off. Or you can use your finger, which if you do, be careful because the pigments from your skin can cause some problems. For me, the bloom isn't a deal breaker. It just gets annoying having to wipe it off, but there is another solution. You can spray on fixatives onto your paper to prevent that bloom from coming up. I personally don't use fixatives, but if the bloom bothers you that much, you can go down that route. Now, when it comes to brands for wax-based colored pencils, in my opinion, Prismacolors are unmatched. They give you artist-grade quality at a more affordable price. Not only that, but Prismacolor offers an insane amount of colors. This set, which is the largest, has 150 colors. Now, keep in mind, you don't need all of these colored pencils to make good art. In all honesty, I don't use the majority of the pencils in this set, but I won't lie, it is nice to have access to any colored pencil should you need it. If you really want Prismacolors, but you don't want to go all the way for the 150 set because it might be overwhelming or too pricey, don't worry, there's a lot of different options available. There's a 12 pack, a 24 pack, 36 pack, 48 pack, a 72 pack, and I think even a 132 pack. So there's a lot of options out there for you if you really want Prismacolors. Okay, that's the art material section all covered. Now let's get onto the recording equipment and the editing equipment. This section won't take up too long. There's not too much to discuss here. So when it comes to recording shorts, this right here is my main tool, a phone, my iPhone. As for what I'm using to record myself right now, I'm using a Sony a7 III with an 85mm lens, but you don't need to go that fancy for your cameras to record yourself. Trust me, as long as you can get yourself in frame and it has some good quality, that's all you need. So like I said, I do all of my recording and editing for my shorts here on my phone. But when it comes to long format videos like this, I edit those on my laptop. So for editing software, like I just mentioned, I use DaVinci Resolve for all of my long format videos. But when it comes to editing shorts, I do 99.99999% of it on CapCut on my phone. The reason being that it's just a lot simpler. For the editing for my shorts, I really don't get too fancy with it. So let's do a quick recap. When it comes to shorts, record and edit on my phone using CapCut. When it comes to long format videos, record with my Sony a7 III and then edit on my laptop with DaVinci Resolve. And I forgot to mention, DaVinci Resolve is free and it's extremely powerful. So if you're looking for an editing software, highly recommend. It's free. Before I forget, we also need to talk about the mic that I use. So this is the DJI mic, and honestly, this has been the best investment for the channel so far in terms of production and video quality. The reason being that you really can get away with just using any camera. As long as the image quality is fine enough, if it's acceptable, that's good. But when it comes to audio, if it's too murky or if you can't hear it, there's no other reason why people will click off a video faster, in my opinion. All right, with those two things out of the way, now we can get on to the shorts creation process. All right, so now let's get into the fun stuff. So to best explain and streamline my process, we're gonna be breaking it down into 6 sections. So the very first step, no matter what, every time I start a new short, is deciding what to draw. As of recently, it really is whatever you guys request. So again, keep leaving your requests because I might just see yours and decide, you know what, I'll do yours. Second step is finding the references. So a lot of people have asked in the comments if I use references, and I do. Now, when it comes to finding them, most of the time I really just go on Google, and that's where I'll find a lot of good stuff. But recently I've discovered Pinterest. I know I'm pretty late to it, but Pinterest has a lot of cool stuff that you can use. The third step, and one of the most important in my opinion, is color swatching. Color swatching is basically when you get your materials, whether that be color pencils or alcohol markers, like I have one for alcohol markers too, and you get each color pencil and you color it in. The reason for this being that the color that you see on your pencil's wrapping isn't always accurate. So you have to swatch to know exactly what color you're getting. Once you find your reference, you can hold it up to your reference and then compare it directly. It makes it a lot easier to choose your colors, and I always do this. It's gonna make your life so much easier. You're gonna thank me for it later, trust me. The third step is the actual sketching. And again, I do all of my sketching on the Strathmore Tone 10 paper sketchbook. First, I'll do the actual sketch, and then afterwards, I'll go over it with inks. Now, when I'm recording this for the shorts, I like to record in bursts of either 5 to 10 seconds, and then I speed them up in post-production. So once the sketching and the inking are done, that's when I go in with the colored pencils. Now, the thing is that once I finish applying the colored pencils, a lot of the time, my ink, my black ink gets covered. And so what I do, and I don't show this on my shorts, but now you know and you got the secret sauce, I always go back over the color pencil again with the inks. That way it all pops out again, because if I were to leave it the other way, the details would be lost. And I'll put up a picture here of Battle Beast. Here's a perfect example of before I went over again with the inks and then afterwards. So there's a clear difference. Voila, your drawing is all finished. Now it's time to get on to step 5. So step 5 is actually the editing process. The first stage of my editing is trimming all of the clips. So here you want to keep the clips around 1 to 2 seconds long. Personally, that's what I've found helps keep the engagement good, because any longer you run the risk of it becoming boring. When I initially upload all of my clips into CapCut, it's usually like a 2-minute to 3-minute video. But by the time I'm finished trimming, it gets it down pretty close to 1 minute. And I usually shoot for under a minute for all of my drawings for TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Now the next step is to go back and rewatch it and see if there's any unnecessary clips. And by unnecessary, I mean, is there anything that doesn't flow in the story of the video? Maybe one of the shots was too shaky, or I didn't like the angle on one. So that kind of stuff I look out for, and I'll delete those. And again, it trims down your video to a minute or under. Now here's where you can do things a little different from me. You can add the text here in CapCut, but I personally like to do that in TikTok. Really, all I'll do is just I'll add text, and then I'll download the video, watch it through and make sure I like it, and then upload to all the platforms. So when I export the video, I make sure it's just the original audio or even muted. And I choose the actual music in each platform to avoid getting flagged. And voila, that's the end of your short. So those are the 6 steps that I always go through for every short that I make. Now the final section of this video is the thumbnails. There's not really much to talk about here, so we'll glance over it really quickly. When it comes to choosing the thumbnail for my shorts, it's always the same. It's the very last shot of the drawing. I get all the drawing in frame, and that's the thumbnail. Now on TikTok, I'll add text to it. For example, whatever character I'm drawing, I'll put drawing so-and-so. So if I'm drawing Invincible, drawing Invincible. You can also use other things like Canva, for example. Really, I just keep it at DaVinci Resolve. Alright, so we made it to the end of the video. And I just want to say, if you're interested in any of the materials that I use, I will include affiliate links down below for Amazon. Again, they are affiliate links. But now this leads me into my final thoughts that I want to leave you off with. You really, truthfully do not need all of this equipment if what you want to do is create incredible art or to get started with creating content. You really do not. When I first started recording videos for YouTube, I literally used an old family camera that we just had laying around. I didn't have a tripod, so I would just make my own makeshift setup. I think I even have a picture of this one here, which I'll put up on the screen right now. What really matters, as cliche and as corny as it may sound, is truthfully your passion and your dedication. If you really are dedicated to your art, no matter what materials you have, you're gonna create incredible pieces and you're gonna continue to evolve, learn, and get better with time. And the same goes for art content creation. Really, all you need is a phone. That's all you need. You can do everything you want on this one thing. I've been drawing for all of my life. Literally for as long as I could hold a pencil, I've been drawing. And when I started off, I didn't have access to all of these materials. I literally just used to draw on printer paper and whatever color pencils I could get my hands on, which were either Crayola or their off-brand Crayola colored pencils. But with time and continuing to draw, the progress came. So trust me, if you're in a position where you're just getting started or you can't afford a lot of materials, all you really need is a pencil, the paper, and your dedication for art. So we're at the end of the video now. As we end off this video, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's been supporting the channel lately. All of the positivity and the incredible comments have been insane over the last month and a half. As of about a month and a half ago, I had maybe 400 subscribers, and at this point now, basically 9,000 subscribers. The amount of growth that we've experienced recently on the channel has been nothing short of insane. Thank you to everybody that's commented, interacted with the video, and even just watched it, because trust me, even with just a view, that goes an incredibly long way. You're all helping me to achieve my goals of making art my full-time career, and more than ever, it's looking really good. So let's make sure to keep the momentum going. Lastly, stay tuned because this video marks the return of long format videos finally. I took like a 2-month break to focus on shorts, but now that those are doing a little well, I think it's time to finally hop on the grind of long format videos again. So again, thank you to everybody that's been supporting. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future content. Trust me, you're not gonna wanna miss out. That's another video. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.